Hello and welcome to R&R's Ask the Expert. I'm Kayla McGowan, editor-in-chief, and today I have a very, very special guest, someone I'm getting to know very well, and we're talking about building brand and culture and the next generation of restorers. If you haven't guessed it, my guest today is Alexus Neidert, and she is the head of brand and culture at Thomasville Restoration. She leads their customer experience, brand identity, and brand awareness. She has close to 10 years of experience in our industry, and she also grew up in the industry. So, without further ado, please welcome Alexus.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Kayla. Thanks for having me on, and it's been great to get to know you. I am enjoying meeting my restoration bestie.
Likewise, I think we just kind of hit it off when we first met each other at Interconnect. I was like, I have 15 minutes, and it was just so fluid and like organic from that time that we met. And we've kind of just let our friendship flourish from there. And I know we're going to be working on some exciting things together. But, I want to take this opportunity to talk about you, why you're so passionate about this industry, and how important it is to one, build brand and culture, but also how to influence the next generation of restorers. So I know about your background, but I don't think everybody knows about your background and how unique it is. So can you share a little bit about your personal journey with Thomasville and what drew you to the company and how your role has evolved over time?
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's funny because a lot of times I get that question, how did you become a part of Thomasville? And I always say, well, I am the founder's daughter. But if you had told me 10 years ago I would be working with my dad, I would have told you were crazy. There was no way. I was on the fast track to studying forensic psychology. I went to college in New York City, and I was dedicated to this concept that I was going to be involved in law and crime in some way. And then there was like a weird pivot. I ended up in real estate, and I loved it. And I loved helping customers at the best points in their lives. And that's when they're making this incredibly large purchase and such an accomplishment, within their lives. And so I really enjoyed doing that. And then I was like, I want to get out on my own and kind of start my own thing. So I started a company that was kind of like what I do now. Essentially, it was helping with branding and systems and processes for a lot of really small businesses, helping with marketing material and design, because that was always just something I had a passion doing on the side. And I got a call one day, and it was on my birthday. My dad said, "Hey, let's go get coffee." And I'm like, "Great, love coffee." And so we're sitting there, and I could tell something was off. I'm like, "What's going on?" I'm like, "Why are we here?" And he was like, look, I got some stuff going on in the business, and I need your help. I said, okay. He said, I really need your help. And I was like, okay. And I could tell that there was something very serious in his tone, in a way that as a father, he wasn't trying to worry me, but as the firstborn, I was like, oh, okay, something's wrong. He said, well, I can pay you $15 an hour. And I was like, okay. And I've just been saying okay ever since. And at the time, what was going on was my dad's previous partner had started a competing restoration company in our area and had taken about 80% of our employees at the time. And so essentially, my dad didn't know who to trust, didn't know who to rely on, and felt an obligation, a deep-seated obligation to the people that were loyal and who were staying on board. And there was a time where we were down in Florida celebrating the holidays. This was the Christmas of 2018. And we were sitting on the couch, and he said, I don't know if I can do this. I don't know if I can make it. And I said, no, yeah, you absolutely can make it. If anybody can make it. And I said, but no matter what, I'm here and I will help you. And the only things I was really doing at the time was, I mean, sweeping the floors and building marketing material and answering emails and just trying to learn the restoration industry as fast as possible. I didn't know what a TPA was. I didn't even really know what restoration was. I knew my dad worked in construction, and that was the extent of my understanding. And so when we battened down the hatches and really dug our heels in the sand, so we're not giving up. We came back that beginning of that year, 2019, and then that very well-known pandemic hit. And we were really concerned. We had really had no idea what was going to happen. It was around March of 2019. And we were just trying to keep our team safe. We were just trying to keep the people who were still there, feeling honored and respected. And around that time, my dad was able to find his partner now, who is our CEO, Andy Amrine. And ever since Andy came on board, we have been a rocket ship. It's been an absolute rocket ship. And, to see the grit and the drive of somebody who, you've never seen cry your entire life because he's this big, muscly
Mhm.
guy. And you saw him cry over the fear of losing this business. It changes something in you. It's so much deeper than money. It's so much deeper than ego or title. It was about doing whatever needed to be done because a person that you loved was in pain and needed help. And so I had jumped around in many different roles within the business. I learned everything, including finance. And I was really bad at it. So they took me out of finance pretty quickly. But I had done everything but estimating. And so if I had to drop equipment, I was dropping equipment. If I had to take boards to a board up, I was doing that. And I just did whatever I possibly could. And it's funny because from that time, it has really ingrained our culture and who it is today is it's all about everyone sweeps the floors. We all take the trash out. We all do whatever it takes, and nobody in our organization says that's not my job. We are all willing to help each other, and we're all willing to do whatever it takes, no matter what. And it's something that has been really difficult, and it's something that has actually been hard to maintain. But with the right people and the right seats on the bus, they really hold that pretty seriously. So. Yeah, how I ended up in this role was a little bit different. I was always, while I was doing all the different things within this like administrative office assistant role, I was constantly changing our logos or our headers or the fonts that were used on different things because I didn't like how inconsistent everything was. The truck logos were different than the logos on the papers, they're different than the logos around the office. So I just started to kind of create this consistency in as far as our how we showed up in the marketplace. And, there'd be times where my dad or Andy would be like, hey, we need some social media posts. And I'd be like, fine, I'll take care of it. Would throw some pictures up there. But it wasn't until November of 2019 when I kind of sat down and was like, I have a dream, and I have a dream that I don't know how to title. And I know that this is what I want to do. And here's a list of the things I want to do. And I came to Andy and I told him that, and he said, okay, write me a job description. And I sat on it for a couple weeks because I was too nervous. But then I wrote the job description and I said, this is what I want to do. This is what I care about. And he said, okay. And ever since then, it's been off to the races.
I think, your story is very unique and, you were in the grind of everyday stuff. And that's what everybody in your guys' business does, right? And I think that's extremely important. It's a family dynamic, right? We spend most of our time at work more than when we're with our family, if I'm being quite honest. And you guys have to pick up each other's slack. People are going to have bad days, people are going to have good days, and that's what it's all about. And you guys have really built a great brand and culture around that. I mean, everybody knows who you are when you're walking around in all of your swag. So you guys have done a really great job, and they have the perfect person driving that bus in that department and your business, truly. And I think you have some key qualities and values that we have to instill into the next generation. And those aren't something that you can teach, right? They have to be within these individuals who are coming into this industry. So speaking of that, you have the drive, the dedication, the love for the industry. What qualities or values do you believe are most important for the next generation of professionals? And how can we as quote unquote industry veterans help that next generation of professionals?
Yeah, that's a really good question. I think it's a two-parter. One, I have never considered myself an industry vet, but it's funny, I saw a statistic that said that people only stay in the restoration industry for an average of 7 years. So being in the industry for over 7 years now, that has been, a very shocking number, I think. And I think it's shocking because I've never been a place where I absolutely love what I do. I wake up every single morning excited to go to work, excited to, see what's next, to dream, to create, to grow, to nurture. And so I have that really unique opportunity. And so a lot of the times when I'm talking to contractors and they ask me the same question, how do we excite the next generation? Well, the biggest thing is helping your teammates understand that what they're doing is so much bigger than themselves and creating a company culture that shows that. And so, for example, something that we do every time we have a group meeting, or a large team meeting, is we have our teammates share compassion stories. Compassion is one of our three values. And so a lot of times what we'll do is have the teammates talk about how they went above and beyond and created an incredible experience and opportunity to surprise and delight a customer. And it constantly is keeping that thought process front of mind. And I think a lot of times when we are talking to the next generation, especially the Gen Z generation, they care more about making a difference in this world than they do how much their paycheck is. The days of going in at 9, leaving at 5, your phone's off, and it's just a paycheck, it's just a place to create a job is gone. Now people want to work in a place in which they feel fulfilled. They're led a lot more by emotion and a lot more by desire than they've ever been before. And even my generation has paved the way for it, the millennial generation. And so having an organization that's constantly showcasing the fact that we are making differences in our customers' lives and our teammates' lives is incredibly important. Now, another side of that, that comes with that is making sure that your business has something that they're getting behind, something that they believe makes a difference in the world and is constantly communicating that throughout their organization. And when you have a business that has that kind of structure and it has something that they want to support to make a difference in this world, it is known far and wide. For example, I know ATI supports Ronald McDonald House. Thomasville does smoke detector giveaways with the fire department. If you are a business who is trying to make a difference and trying to get a part of those new or get that next generation of restorer involved, you have to care. You have to. It is so incredibly important.
Yeah, and I would definitely say too, you shared an important statistic there, right? If we want the next generation to come in, we need to provide stability. And I think it does start with brand and culture, if I'm being quite honest. To your point, people are emotionally invested and led these days. And if you are looking at the bigger picture and understanding that they're spending majority of their time within the company, they have to, like you say, feel fulfilled, love what they do, feel valued. I think that's the other thing, right? Fulfillment and value are oftentimes lumped together, but you can feel fulfillment, but also not be valued, feel valued. And I think that's really important too. And I will say we've definitely seen a lot of shift happen. And, there's not one right answer, right? Like you said, you're going to support different initiatives and, like you do the smoke detectors giveaway stuff. That is probably really pertinent in your guys's lay of the land, right? Ronald McDonald for ATI, I know several other people who also support multiple nonprofits and things like that. You know, that is a value that is instilled within the company. They care about the community. And I think that's one way to get that younger generation to kind of say, like, oh, they care about our community, not just the business. And I think that's really big because when things happen in your community, you're going to rally around your community. And I think that's the other thing that's really important is oftentimes we've heard stories of something happening to somebody and maybe their business doesn't have the means or they don't support them outside of the business. And I think you guys have created such a great environment. Everybody's always smiling and so happy. And I love the selfies in the field, right? Like people are so proud of their job. And I think that's what showcases positivity to the next generation. Like we know the next generation is very much so into social media and on their phone. And if they're encouraged to share their day to day, it's easier for them to feel that value and the love and fulfillment all at the same time. So, I think our next generation has the opportunity to fit into your Thomasvilles, your ATIs, and be happy and love what they do and maybe one day create their own business, right? Learn the core values and learn the business and create something for their families as well. So I know we've talked about the generation, the next generation, our generation, and brand and culture, but let's kind of dive into the culture at Thomasville, right? You live, eat, sleep, and breathe it. And in what ways do you think it shapes the success of your team and the brand?
Sure. I mean, everybody has a company culture, but not all company cultures are good. So if anybody is questioning whether or not they have one, they do. If you're questioning whether or not you do, then you really should probably take a look at it. I think one of the things that we really try to prioritize is living out our values, our mission, and our vision. I'm really fortunate that all of my teammates can name all of those things. They know all of our mission, vision, and values. It's because it's so ingrained in who we are. And so, living out our values by making sure our values are family first, compassion, and communication. So, ensuring that everything we do is seen through that lens. It was a really great forethought of my CEO, Andy, to include me in on our as our senior leadership, part of our senior leadership team. I remember thinking at first, why? I didn't have much experience. I was very young, and I definitely felt a sense of inadequacy. But he said, "You are the heartbeat of the brand. How can we make sure that we're making decisions that are going to affect our teammates if we're not taking into consideration those things?" And so I was like, "Okay, yeah, sure, I'll do it." It is such a tool. I am such a tool that our leadership team uses to filter through some of the decisions that they make, how it's going to affect the team. Are we living our values? Are we doing the right thing? Is this something that's going to hurt or help our culture? Um, but it ultimately starts from the top. Your leadership team is who dictates the way that the culture is going to be. It's not your teammates. You set the tone, and I think it's really important to communicate with your team to figure out how you can better improve your culture. Something that I always share with contractors when we discuss like how can we improve our culture is get in the car, do a ride along with a teammate of yours that you know is bought in, that you know really cares about the company. You can clearly see that they're excited and just talk to them. Some of the best ideas that have ever come from the brand department have been ideas of our teammates, especially our field teammates. And so I really try to prioritize that. Now, what does the culture look like? To describe it in a couple words, our culture is edgy and exciting and family, and family is always the word that comes to my mind. And it's funny because, they always say that it's especially trending now on social media, but if a company says that they're like family, that you should be concerned. But there's really no other way to describe it. The way that our team feels, the way that they are interacting with one another. I mean, we are all friends outside of here. We all spend time together. Um, I I don't know how to explain it as much as I do saying go check out our social media. Go look at the window that we have provided into what it looks like, and none of that is fabricating it. It is all real. We work like a family. We play like a team. We fight like a family. So when it happens, it does happen. But our leadership team has decided that no matter what, we are going to protect this culture, and that is something that we always take into consideration when we're hiring. When we go through the hiring process, it is at minimum 3 interviews, at maximum for senior leaders, 10 interviews. We are very meticulous about hiring for culture fit first. It is extremely important to us. So we want to get the right people on the right seats on the bus to make sure that they're going to do what they can do to help our customers put their homes and lives back together, which is our mission statement. And yeah, so I mean, these are just things that I feel like are um, really important to our culture and to our brand. But why don't you tell me what attracted you to me and my teammates when we were sitting down and you just started chatting with us? Like, what was the energy that you were experiencing?
Yeah, that's such a great question. Honestly, you're very inviting, very humble, and caring. Like those were the things that I picked up right away before even carrying on the conversation. And it was like a quick introduction. I was actually going to catch a flight, and there was zero hesitation about us just talking. Like you're like, I have some ideas. I was like, let me hear them. Like, let's see what we can do with the ideas. And it was just from there, like there was no awkward interaction or exchange. It was just very fluid and honestly, seeing our age group in this industry is so refreshing because it's like, okay, the extreme veterans of the industry have taught us so much. We have to help teach the next generation, and just sharing that same passion was just so refreshing, because if you're sitting at a table talking about that, I can only imagine what your entire team feels. And I remember like as soon as I got to my gate, I sent you an email and like you responded right away. I was like, who is she? Like, and so if that's the customer service that you guys give, I can only imagine how your customers feel, because truly we had just met and there was zero hesitation, like, of like, oh, I'll get to it Monday or anything like that. It was just so organic and so inviting. You guys, we hugged before I left. And I'm like, that's a 15-minute interaction that we were hugging and already talking about all these things. And it was just so refreshing, And I think you guys do a really great job with your entire team. I haven't met your entire team, but the people that I've met are literally so inviting and so fun, and they love our industry. And that's all we can really ask for. And plus, you guys all look super swaggy. So, who wouldn't want to like talk to you and like pick your brain, and see what you have to offer the industry? But also, you guys have built something so strong, and I know that it's only going to continue to grow. And that's the one thing that's really refreshing is, yes, you guys love your business, and yes, you love where things are right now, but knowing you and your guys' leadership, like it's like, what can we do next? Like there's no hesitation in my mind that you guys are like, hey, what can we do next? And so, you know, you're building your brand all the time, but you're also building a legacy, right? And so, how do you see your legacy influencing the company's direction, not just today, but in the future, right? Again, back to that next generation, I think it's extremely important to see where you are today and where it's going to be in the future.
Yeah, it's so funny because we as a leadership team did this practice and it was awful. We had to write our own obituaries. Don't recommend. It's very emotional and very difficult to do. But one of the things that came out of that exercise for me is how important legacy is to me. And I think that what my goal is to constantly shine a mirror back into my organization because I would not be who I am today if it weren't for the people who are standing beside me on my leadership team, behind me in the field, taking care of our customers, allowing this brand to be as big as it is. I mean, I have teammates who wear Thomasville polos to nice dinners because they feel like it's the nicest thing that they have, and they feel so incredibly proud to be a part of that Thomasville brand. And that is so important to me. And I know that things like this only happen once in a lifetime. This is not normal. It's not something that happens all the time. And if we don't protect it and cherish it and nurture it, it's gonna be gone. And it can happen overnight like that. Um, and so I think for me, the most important thing is making sure I'm turning around and I'm looking at the next generation of restorers, next generation of leaders, and I'm pouring out as much information as I possibly can. I've had the fortunate opportunity to speak at just about every major restoration conference, if not multiple times at different conferences. And my only goal is to give as much information out as I can to make the difference in the lives of teammates at other restoration companies. For me, it's exhausting to go to a lot of these conferences and it's very expensive. And I'm fortunate that I have a team behind me who is willing to invest in this and my growth, but also because we believe in bettering the industry and doing it as humbly and as truthfully as possible and as vulnerably as possible. I think that sometimes, I struggle because I get afraid that I have to like heart check myself. Am I doing this because I want I want my flowers, or am I doing this because I truly believe in what I'm doing? And I think that, I am constantly able to come home to a team who is so proud that it makes me emotional, but is so proud that I am out there telling their stories. And so my legacy is to continue to tell the stories of the team that makes a difference in my life, the team that's making differences in our customers' lives, and to continue to pour into that next generation of leaders. That's really important to me. And I know that I've had the opportunity to pull in a couple of people from my team to come and speak with me that might not have had the opportunity or the exposure that I do. And so that's really important to me. I want to push that next person forward. I want to pave the way, but then I want somebody standing on my shoulders because you can only see as far as you can see because you're standing on the shoulders of giants. And I am standing on the shoulders of Andy and my dad. And I can't wait to be that next level where I can have the next person see farther and wider because they're standing on my shoulders.
Yeah, man, you said that so well. I don't even know how to follow up with that, honestly. And, you literally show how much you care. Like, I've gotten emotional before on a podcast, and it's like I don't even know I'm crying. Like it just hits you like in your soul, right? And that's the type of leadership and industry professionals that we want and need to have, right? Because there's a different drive, a different love, and like you said, are you doing it because you care? Are you doing it because you want your flowers or whatever the case may be? But honestly, you're doing it because you love and care about the industry, but also the people who are on your team. And flowers are always going to come, right? But your drive is about making a difference in not just your customers' lives, but your teammates' lives and the next generation. And I think that's truly something that is so priceless in this world, honestly. And to hear that your guys' team loves Thomasville through and through shows how important Thomasville is to them, both inside and outside of their professional life, right? That's extremely important. And to hear that you guys are more than just coworkers is obviously such a great thing, too. So for you to show your emotion is honestly just so refreshing because you care about these people deeper than the business, right? Like I'm sure you know their families and their kids, and that's just something that you cannot fake. That's not something that every company can say. And I think you guys have done a really good job. And like I said, they have the right person in the right seat. And to your point, one day there's going to be people standing on your shoulders. And so, what can you do for them? And that's extremely important because that's the mentality we have to have. I'm a huge basketball fan. I played basketball in school, and recently I saw an interview with Candace Parker, and she mentioned when I came into the space, it was great, but I wanted to leave it better than I found it. And I kind of feel that is the most important thing that we can do here is right. We found it, it was in a good place, but how can we leave it better? And yes, we're going to leave it better, but somebody else is going to come in and it's going to be great to them and then they're going to leave it better. And that's the whole point of this. That's how legacy is created. And so
Mhm.
I say all that to say, it's not to be the best, it's to be better than you were when you came in and leave it better than you found it. And that's the most important thing. And really, we're all doing a really great job at it. And I think your passion just truly shows that. And I know your team is very appreciative of it. I'm appreciative of it. And I'm not even on your team. So you're doing such a great job. So is everybody at Thomasville. And, you know, my last burning question, and I don't even know how I would answer this, but I know you're going to have a great answer is what advice would you give to somebody who's just starting out into the industry? And what do you hope they carry forward from lessons of your experience?
Hmm. Um, I think the most important thing, honestly, is don't give up, man. Like you got to count your good days and forget your bad days. This business is so incredibly hard, but you have to remember the things that you're doing, and how they influence and make a difference in others' lives. It's so much bigger than just setting a DQ, doing some demo, building a house, with sticks and bricks. It's so much deeper than that. It's so much bigger than that. And your goal should be to be able to make a difference wherever you are, and stay focused on making a difference wherever you are. I think that I remember back to the very first on-call call I ever took. And it was a customer who I was trying to get a hold of the father after a home had burned down. And it was the customer's daughter who I spoke to. And I've never heard such pain in a voice of someone. Come to find out her father had actually passed away in the fire. And he was at the hospital for hours, listed as a John Doe. And so she was unable to find him. And I just remember that moment, like I get emotional. I just remember back on that moment, and it was like 3 o'clock in the morning, and I'm trying to remember what buttons to press and dash. And I literally had to stop, close my laptop, and just talk to her. And I took myself out of the day to day and constantly remember why I'm doing what I'm doing and what my purpose is. And so, as important as it is for that aspect, I always try to tell people, find a company who reminds you of your purpose when you walk in every day. Whether it's written on the walls, whether it's listed on your t-shirts, your leader is constantly reminding you, we're sharing happy stories. Be a part of an organization like that so you never lose sight of why you're doing what you're doing. And don't give up. It gets hard, but it gets better and you learn. I always say that restoration industry is like learning the industry is like drinking out of a fire hose. It is so fast, so quick, but you'll get it. And I always say that within the first 3 months, it takes about 3 months to really start to feel like you know what you're doing. And then about that time is when you realize you don't know shit. Excuse my French, but this is how you learn. This is the chance that you have, and you have the chance to make a difference. So don't give up. Keep pushing through. I'm always a resource. Kaylee, I know you're always a resource. It's important to be a part of a place that makes you feel loved, valued, heard, and cared for. And those are the four things I focus on for our department, for the brand department, for the culture department, and within Thomasville as a whole, making sure our teammates are experiencing that. And we know that if our teammates feel loved, heard, and cared for and listened to, that they're going to make our customers feel that way. Our customers know your brand and know your culture by the way your teammates approach them. And so it's hard, but it's so incredibly rewarding. You just got to get through it. You just got to get through those first couple months and keep pushing through. Make sure you're with an organization that will invest in you, invest in your goals, your dreams, your pathways, and just keep moving forward. Know that what you're doing will make a difference to somebody.
Yeah, I think, man, you said so much there, honestly. It does start from the top down too, right? If you're not
Yep.
treated that way, you're not going to treat your customers that way. And, a couple of minor things that I would add, you said something really great, like 3 months in, you feel super confident, but then you look and you're like, yeah, maybe I don't know that. And I would definitely say, ask the questions, ask the easy ones, ask the hard ones. The only bad question is the one you don't ask truly. And I think that you and I have gotten as far as we have by asking the questions. Maybe it's uncomfortable. Maybe it's like, oh, shoot, I did know that, but like it was kind of tucked away in my brain. And, I think that we are human, right? Like you talked about the empathy and compassion in that situation where it was just like, okay, I need to be a human for a second, not the industry professional, but I need to just take a second and validate her feelings, but also just be that like peaceful voice in a tragic time for that young lady, right? And I think, yes, it's business, but also learn from those little lessons because you're able to flourish. And it's hard work. It's hard work to get where you and I are sitting. It was not easy. And, it's okay to have bad days. Like you said, we're going to have them. It's inevitable, but that's where your teammates come in and your leadership comes into play. Well, I think we covered a lot today. And, for anybody listening, truly take this very seriously and ask questions, right? Alexus is very inviting. So is the entire team at Thomasville. They are more than happy to answer your questions, as am I. And you'll probably see us at some convention sometime soon. But as always, we will see you on the next Ask the Expert. Take care.